Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq greets the Libyan Prime Minister on the occasion of granting him confidence of vote from the House of Representatives to form a national unity government. The national COVID-19 vaccination campaign continues in various governorates of the Sultanate with a noticeable turnout from the targeted categories. And the novel coronavirus kills more than 2.62 million people and almost 118 million cases of infections are registered around the world. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sent a cable of greetings to the Libyan Prime Minister Abdul Hamid al-Dibeiba on the occasion of granting him the confidence of vote from the House of Representatives to form a government of national unity in his country. His Majesty the Sultan sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Rupon Prithviraj Singh of the Republic of Mauritius on his country's National Day. Within its continuous sessions held to follow up recent developments of COVID-19 in the Sultanate and to protect the community from this contagious pandemic, the Supreme Committee decided to extend suspension until further notice of arrivals from the following 10 countries: Sudan, Lebanon, South Africa, Brazil, Nigeria, Tanzania, Ghana, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Ethiopia. And those traveling from other countries but have transited through one of the aforementioned 10 countries in the last 14 days preceding their request to enter the Sultanate. This excludes Omani citizens, diplomats, healthcare workers, and their families who will be subjected to the approved procedures upon arriving in the Sultanate. The Supreme Committee also decided to extend implementation of online learning to students of public schools by means of distance learning for another 2 weeks, ending on Thursday, March 25th, 2021. However, grade 12 students will follow blended learning system, provided that the situation to be evaluated in accordance with the developments of the epidemiological situation in the Sultanate during this period. The vaccination campaign against coronavirus COVID-19 is continuing in various governorates of the Sultanate. With the increase in the number of coronavirus-affected cases in the Sultanate, vaccination is the most important means to counter the pandemic, along with adherence to health precautionary measures. In the Wilaya of Yanqul, in the governorate of Al-Dhahira, many citizens flocked to the health center in the Wilaya to be vaccinated with the available vaccines approved and provided by the Ministry of Health. According to citizens who came to the center, the vaccination process was well organized and easy. Oman oil price May 2021 delivery reached $66 and 85 cents per barrel. According to Dubai Mercantile Exchange, Oman oil price rose by $1 and 57 cents. The average price of Oman oil March 2021 delivery reached $54.78 per barrel. The Ministry of Social Development has signed an agreement to launch Sahala platform to provide travelers with all instructions and guidelines on institutional quarantine issued by the Ministry of Health. The agreement aims to achieve the highest level of safety, verify all information for travelers, and assist travelers coming to the Sultanate to facilitate the selection of hotels and to provide data and reports to government bodies, especially the accommodation and relief sector. Modern information technology means have become part of our social life. Despite the positive benefits of such technology, but they may pose threat if misused. Digital statistics in the information technology and telecommunication sector pointed out to the increase in cyber attacks. The number of cyber attacks dealt with in the Sultanate amounted to more than 417,000 attacks during 2020. While real cybersecurity incidents that targeted individuals and establishments reached more than 1,400. Meanwhile, the number of legal cases dealt with by the Digital Evidence Lab reached 128 cases. Still to come in our news bulletin. A winter storm brought rain and snow into Southern California. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The novel coronavirus has killed more than 2.62 million people since the outbreak emerged in China in December 2019. Almost 118 million cases of coronavirus have been registered. Yesterday, 9,765 new deaths and 460,039 new cases were recorded worldwide. The United States is the worst affected country with 529,263 deaths. After the US, the hardest hit countries are Brazil with 270,656 deaths, Mexico 192,488, India 158,189, and the United Kingdom with 124,987 deaths. Europe overall has 886,000 deaths from 39.23 cases. Latin America and the Caribbean, 707,403 deaths. Asia, 261,469. The Middle East, 107,165. And Africa, 106,706 deaths. Senior officials said that the European Union will prolong the use of its oversight machine or mechanism on coronavirus vaccine exports for another 2 months. Under the measure, which will now continue until the end of June, manufacturers that have signed advance purchase agreements with the European Commission must make a declaration if they intend to export doses outside the bloc. This was brought in after British-Swedish drugs giant AstraZeneca failed to meet promised delivery schedules to EU members while honoring its British contract. Brussels insists the measure is not intended as a blanket ban. It has been used to prevent exports once, when Italy intervened last week to prevent AstraZeneca exporting a batch of vaccines to Australia. EU Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis said since the measure was introduced, shipments were authorized to more than 30 countries. This confirms that even during a very critical health situation, the EU has made a considerable effort to be a reliable and responsible trading partner. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres yesterday called for more humanitarian access to Syria and a Security Council consensus on the matter. In a statement marking 10 years of war in the country, he said the situation remains a living nightmare. Some 60% of Syrians are at the risk of hunger this year. Guterres added that it is imperative that we continue to reach all Syrians in need of humanitarian assistance. More humanitarian access is needed. In July, thanks to its UN Security Council veto, Russia imposed a drastic reduction to just 1 in the number of border crossings authorized without Damascus's approval. The authorization expires in July, and Russia has already hinted that it will not allow its extension, to the frustration of the West that say the crossing is essential for an international aid. Rescuers on the Indonesian island of Java today pulled the final victim's body from the wreckage of a passenger bus that plunged into a ravine, killing dozens on board. The bus carrying junior high school students and some parents was returning from an excursion when it crashed last night, killing 27 people. The search and rescue agency said that the driver of the bus lost control shortly before the crash in an area near the city of Samdang in West Java province. The Transportation Ministry said 39 people had survived. The exact cause of the crash was not immediately clear, though the ministry said there were initial indications that the vehicle's roadworthiness tests were not up to date. An albatross fell flat on its face as it attempted to land at a nature reserve in New Zealand. The bungling bird was captured on camera face planting as it tried to land on a grassy verge at the Tiarorora Head Nature Reserve before flipping onto its back. The clumsy animal seemed to shake off the unconventional landing, with footage showing it immediately getting up and walking away. Tiarorora Head, which is located on the end of New Zealand's Otago Peninsula, is home to the only mainland colony of albatross in the southern hemisphere. A Pacific storm brought much-needed rain and snow to California yesterday at the tail end of a largely dry winter. Winter storm warnings were in effect in the southern Cascades down the length of the Sierra Nevada and the mountains of Southern California. State Transportation Agency urged drivers to check for chain controls. In the Eastern Sierra, the Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort reported 13 inches to 15 inches of new snow, with more expected. The Sierra snowpack is an important part of California's water supply, but at the start of March, its winter content was about half the average normally recorded on April 1st, when it is typically at its most robust. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq greets the Libyan Prime Minister on the occasion of granting him confidence of vote from the House of Representatives to form a national unity government. The national COVID-19 vaccination campaign continues in various governorates of the Sultanate with a noticeable turnout from the targeted categories. And the novel coronavirus kills more than 2.62 million people, and almost 118 million cases of infections are registered around the world. And with the end of tonight's news bulletin, we would like to remind you once again to keep following the precautionary measures of wearing face masks, washing hands, and keeping physical distance from each other. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night and stay safe.